One of the most common questions I get from DIY home buyers is, hey Nick, I found a house that I love, but how do I make an offer? I actually think that it's this question, it's the number one barrier for would-be self-represented home buyers that holds them back from representing themselves and makes them think, actually, I do need to hire a costly buyer's agent. It's because making an offer is, in some ways, rightfully intimidating. You are putting together a legally binding contract for hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's right to have some degree of intrepidation about doing that. It's also true that real estate agents and brokerages and local MLSs have tried to make real estate contracts sound way more complicated than they actually are. There's a ton of boilerplate legalese that makes the documents, like if you were to print them, about this thick, but frankly, an offer could simply be written on the back of a napkin and could actually do the trick. So in this video, I want to break down what your options are as a self-represented buyer for making an offer on a home. Just before I dive in though, let me address the elephant in the room, which, I am filming this from my car because while building the DIY Homebuyer Academy, I am also still working full-time on other jobs and projects. And so if you enjoy this content and want for me to be able to be even more dedicated to helping empower the next generation of home buyers to save tens of thousands of dollars in real estate commissions, there's a couple things you can do. 1, subscribe to the channel. 2, like this video. And 3, share this with a friend who you also think would resonate with the message. The faster and more this channel grows, the sooner I'll be able to dedicate even more time and quality content to helping build this incredible community. So let's go ahead and dive in. The first way, and the way that I recommend you go about making an offer, is by working directly with the listing agent. And I can already hear the objection, and I know that some of you have had this experience where you have tried talking with the listing agent and they have told you to go kick rocks, that they represent the seller, and if you want someone to help you with an offer, then you should hire your own agent. This is an unfortunate thing that listing agents are saying, and they are dead wrong about this fact, because they can actually help you. They can serve you by giving you the standardized real estate contract documents for your local area. And they can do that in service to their client, the home seller. It's very similar to like when you purchase a car. There are legal agreements related to buying a car, and it would be so silly for the salesperson at the dealership to tell you that you need to find your own documents or another agent to print those off for you. No, they can absolutely provide all of those documents, and they can even answer basic questions about what these documents are, and not exactly how to fill them out, but defining the language of what it is that you're signing. So if you get pushback from a listing agent saying, I can't help you, what you need to do is just remind them that, hey, you can treat me as a customer. I'm not asking you to treat me like your client. I'm not asking you to give me any advice on what kind of terms to offer, price, negotiation strategy. I'm not looking for any of that. I'm simply looking for you to help provide me the forms so that you can help facilitate a sale for your seller. Don't you think that's what your seller would want? And that's what I really encourage. Just always put it back on the perspective of, hey, I get it. You represent the seller. Now, what do you think your seller would want you to do in this situation? Do you really think that your seller would want you to withhold these purchase and sale agreement documents from me? And in all likelihood at that point, the listing agent will say, okay, you got me. That's fine. Let me get you the documents. What do you need? And once you're at that point, here's what you want. Standardized purchase and sale agreement. This is where you're going to fill out all of your terms, like when the offer expires, the legal description of the property, legal names of the sellers, your legal names, earnest money or consideration, how much you're putting as a good faith deposit, the purchase price. This is also where you're going to put down closing date. Everything that's really relevant to the timeline of when the deal closes, how much it's closing for, that goes in the purchase and sale agreement. Then you're also going to want contingencies. There's at least 3 contingencies that I recommend everybody include. If you're financing your home, have a financing contingency. That usually includes the appraisal contingency as well. The second piece that you want is a title contingency. Just make sure that the title is clear, that there's nobody else that has legal claim to the property. And the third one that you want is an inspection contingency. Now, depending upon your state and depending upon the kind of property that you're getting, there may be other contingencies that you want as well, like a survey, well inspection, septic inspection, those kinds of things. If you have questions about those specifically, just reach out to me, Nick at DIYHomebuyerAcademy.com, or leave a comment. I'll try and get back to you as quickly as I can there. But you can ask the listing agent for those documents. Now, they might be a stickler and say, hey, I can't just turn these over to you because they belong to our association, I pay for these. And if that's what they say, then say, hey, well then can we meet through Zoom or at a coffee shop and like, I'll just dictate to you what I want to go in each of these fill in the blanks. And in all likelihood at that point, they'll say, yes, that's fine. And that is fine. Again, they can perform that clerical or ministerial duty of helping you to fill out the forms, basically just making sure that your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed, honestly and to the best of their ability, defining what each section of the agreement means. They just can't tell you, hey, you should offer this amount, or you should ask for this many days until closing, or ask for these concessions. They can't do any of that. That's something that you need to come up with on your own, or consult with me about how you want to do your offer strategy. That's pretty simple, and frankly, it's the cleanest way to do it because it's those standardized forms that the listing agent is going to be most familiar with. It's the cleanest way. They'll be able to most simply explain what it is that you're offering to the seller that way. So if and when possible, always just go through the listing agent, use the standardized forms. I also get the question of like, well, how do I explain the rationale for my offer? And there's not really a place to do that in the official purchase and sale agreement or any of the contingencies. So if you are asking for, let's just say, 3% off of the sales price or a 3% closing cost credit because you're not having a buyer's agent that you expect the seller to pay and you want to recoup that savings yourself, well, put that in writing in terms of make your offer 3% less than list, or ask for a 3% closing cost credit. But then in the body of the email that you send with your offer attached to the listing agent, that's where you want to explain your rationale. Then I'd go the extra step of, after you've sent that email with your rationale in the body of the email, call the listing agent, see if they have any questions. Really, what you're trying to do is just give them language to help explain your rationale to the seller. Even though, yes, the listing agent represents the seller, you also just have to think about it from the fact that they too want to get a deal done. And the more that you're able to make your offer make sense and give them helpful language that they can then bring to the seller, the more likely you are to actually strike a deal. So keep that in mind. So that is the number one way that I recommend going about making an offer. Just working directly with the listing agent as a customer, not as their client. If you either don't want to do that or you can't do that because the listing agent just absolutely won't play ball, that's unfortunate. Then the next best thing to do would be to hire a real estate attorney. This generally is only going to cost you $500, $600, $700, and a real estate attorney can typically draft up an offer pretty quickly that really will protect you. And they should ask you at least good questions about what contingencies you want to include. So they will be helpful in just putting all of that together for you. Here's the issue though. You have to remember, when you're sending an offer that is not standardized to a listing agent, they're going to see an offer that's coming through drafted by an attorney, and to them that's going to be quite intimidating. That's because real estate agents are not lawyers. As much as they like to compare themselves to lawyers, they don't have that kind of legal education. And so they fear that there's going to be some kind of gotcha in this purchase and sale agreement that they don't recognize. So in all likelihood, they're going to take the offer that you spent money with your lawyer to draft up, and they are going to send a counter offer to you on the standardized forms. So it's really annoying to me that many listing agents will not work with a self-represented buyer and make them hire a real estate attorney just so they can transfer all of that attorney's work onto documents that they recognize. Nevertheless, sometimes you got to take a step backwards in order to move 2 steps forward. And if that's the case, to get the home of your dreams, that's what you got to do. So you can hire a real estate attorney to get that done. And then the final option, if you just don't want to spend the few $100 on a real estate attorney, is you can simply draft up the offer yourself using something like ChatGPT. I wouldn't use templates that you just find online, but you can. I mean, honestly, like I said in the intro, you could do this on the back of a napkin. Really, all you need is, like I said, legal description of the property, seller's legal names, your legal names, earnest money or consideration amount, purchase price amount, closing date. And really, once you have that, like, you have a bona fide purchase and sale agreement. Of course, there are other things that you're going to want to specify in there, like your contingencies, timelines, those sorts of deals, but you don't have to overcomplicate it. But just like the attorney, in all likelihood, even if you present some sort of a written offer like that, the real estate agent, both for their own protection and the protection of their client, is going to do their very best job to translate that onto the standardized forms that they're used to working with. So you can see why my number one option is just to go direct with the listing agent, because pretty much no matter what you do, one way or another, your offer is going to end up on those standardized real estate forms. So you might as well just cut to the chase, do that in the first place. All right, hopefully that helps answer the question. It may just create a bunch of other questions. And if that's the case, the only way that I know what questions you have and how I can answer them is if you get in touch with me. The best way to do that right now is just leave your questions in the comments below. Love to make a follow-up video. Let me know what you think of this one, and I will look forward to hearing from you, seeing you in the next one. Thanks, y'all.